Alright. That'll do for now, I think. Good morning, everybody. Alright. Let's continue. Where did we leave off? Alright, so we stopped there. So we got this group right here to finish off here on page 155 of this book right here. Good morning, everybody. Let's see, we got that one. Good morning. There we go, a little closer in, that better? Good morning. Yeah, we're working here from Terryl Whitlatch's Science of Creature Design. Just got a couple pages left. I'm thinking about the next morning study project. And so she's got her Thorosaurus here, which is a Triceratops that dresses like Thor. Because, you know, why not, right? The exercise, yeah, copying images. So this is what's I'm looking at up here. So this is from Terryl Whitlatch's Science of Creature Design. And she's been a long time creature designer in Hollywood. You know, she has a few books out there on her kind of process and thinking for creatures, and so I wanted to learn some stuff from her. So I've spent the last, actually since September, going through this book page by page, you know, reading what she says, copying her drawings, and inking them up in a way. She doesn't normally ink them, but want to practice some inking skills too, and so I've been doing kind of rough sketches and then inking them up. But the idea, one of the things that's, I think one of the best ways of improving your work is to look at the work that you like and do copies of it. I think it's somewhat of a lost, it's something I think people do by default, but then kind of stop doing for some reason. And I think it's one of the best, probably most important ways of improving your skills and your aesthetics by looking at work like that and then doing copies of it. So I'm trying to keep it to about an hour right now. I used to spend more time on this stuff, and I realized I got a lot of things to do. But if I keep it to an hour first thing in the morning, it A means I've made something that day, and learned something, but also had the opportunity to look at something really great. These are a little bit silly, but it's just kind of how she's finishing off her book. There's a couple more of these pages left. So, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's what we're doing here. Alright, we got this guy right here. It's kind of laid out. So we got you. Yeah, but definitely highly recommended activity if you're not kind of certain what to do, or maybe some people like complain about artist block. I've never really had artist block per se. Sometimes I get tired, but that's different than not having something I want to do. So yeah, if you're looking to learn something or you're not feeling especially inspired, this is a great thing to do where you can look at work that you enjoy. I'll have to scoot that over a little bit. By looking at work that you enjoy and copying it, you can kind of maybe bring some of that into your own work and kind of open up venues of ideas. Like, I learned a bunch in this book about animal anatomy that I, kind of knew, but understood better as a result of copying her work. So, definitely, smart thing to do. Something I wish I'd started a lot earlier. I started doing this specific type of thing, this specific project a few years ago, but I've wish I'd kind of started doing copy work a lot more when I was in my undergrad program, just as a method for self-improvement. Um, um, so yeah, I've done copy work at museums. So when I was an undergrad or actually graduate student at New York Academy, one of my favorite classes there was we had a time and class set up where we would go to the museum, Metropolitan Museum of Art, and copy old master paintings or whatever paintings we wanted to. I think I have 4 paintings I did there, 2 during that class, and then 2 I did later on. one of them I kind of regretted because it was a recommendation from a teacher, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. It wasn't really my favorite artist or anything, but I thought I would give it a try, see what happens, and didn't particularly care for the artist still after that. It was Manet. I guess he's not technically an old master, but he's considered an important artist. And I wish I'd spent the time copying somebody else. But other than that, a couple of Rembrandts and a Peter de Hoch at the Met. I wouldn't mind going back to that, doing that kind of thing. I should find out if the local museum has it, because they've got some nice things here. And then and then I also did a copy at the Hispanic Society of a Velasquez, which was great. So, and that's where you're literally standing there with your easel in front of a bunch of people painting away, and she's indecisive about which way the tail should go here, which is interesting. She's got it going both ways. And we got, what are we doing there? So that's what we kind of got going on here, and it's definitely the kind of thing that I recommend. It's something you can do all by yourself. You don't need anybody's permission. You don't even need necessarily the book like this. You can just look up images by your favorite artists or see what they have to say, because they say so much stuff on YouTube and everything, where you can actually get a really good understanding of who people are and what they do and why, and that can make a really big difference for your work. So that's what this has kind of all been about, is that practice. I've done different projects in the past, like drawn mechanical things and vehicles and from reference. Compositional books like Hans Becker's book. Good morning, people popping in. How are we doing? I'm losing my headphones here. Alright, let's get these ones over here. Good morning. Alright, this needs to be... Alright, there's the ink. Out of frame a bit. Oh, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Good morning. Yeah, I need a crew in here. Maybe I can get some interns from school or something. That wouldn't get me in trouble at all. Yeah, happy little line, right? I'd want to do rage lines, though. See if I can get Rammstein on the program or something. It's kind of what this is, though, right? It's a public access cable. That's right. Yeah, the problem is, in general, art speaking, I've looked around. Like art streams in general aren't very popular. I noticed, like if like you're a VTuber or you're doing like manga stuff, and you're a VTuber, then you get like just like I can do research just to see kind of what people are looking at, and that's generally what it is. I have found a few artists that that I know that are really good. I don't know them personally, but ones that I know of, and they do get some views. But I have a feeling like they've been at it for a particular while, and they're doing particular types of things, which is fine. I have found like I haven't done these recently, but when I was doing like perspective stuff, it seemed like more people would come in, because probably because it looks crazy. Um, I'm not sure what the purpose of public access now that there's things like this. It's like I talk to my sisters about when they take their kids to the library, and it just sounds like the library's in like a community center rather than a library, which is people aren't really there to check out any books per se. They're more there to like have a reading time, or someone will bring in some animals or something. Yeah, it's just I haven't really spent any time in regular libraries in a long time. There is one within walking distance. I mean, I have the university library I have access to, and that's even closer than the public one. Actually, I need to get over there and put together a list of books that I'd like them to put in for. I need to go through kind of my list and then compare it with theirs. Probably take like an hour, and then send off some recommendations to the librarian for some things for the students to get access to. Especially out of print stuff if they can afford it. Um, um, Hello. Yeah, well, like I haven't really spent any time in libraries over there, Perry. In a while, because usually if I want to read a book, I'll just buy it. You know, um, if I'm going to take the time to kind of go through a book, um, I'm just gonna pay for it. Pay the $10-20 or whatever it costs. Well, it's hard to do things with no end goal, to a certain degree. Um, let's see. Let me pause that. Obviously, it helps to kind of have like a target that you're aiming for. But not everybody does art as a job. But a lot of times people have things that they want to improve. Like they just want to be able to sketch comfortably, or draw characters, or do some landscape painting as kind of as a relaxing activity. There's a bunch of different things that might be goals, even if they're not, say, professional goals. Or like you like to do it to relax or whatever. But there's often maybe something frustrating in what you're trying to do to relax, right? So like there's something you don't know how to do or is difficult for you. And then that's where the practice can come in handy. And what's nice about the practice stuff for me is like, you can just pick something you enjoy. Like I don't necessarily want to draw dinosaurs as superheroes. That doesn't particularly interest me. But what does interest me is kind of understanding her thoughts around creature design, and things that maybe I can do for myself, but also bring to my students in the classroom. So that's where it kind of becomes relevant for me. And she has a lot of stuff in here about anatomy that I didn't understand as well. But it can also just be you appreciating their work in a way that lets you kind of understand what they do better, and that can just be an open-ended thing all by itself too. So you can look at work and say, "Oh, I really love this," and I want to bring something of that to myself. And that's what a lot of the copy work is actually for. Is kind of saying, "Oh, I like what's going on here. I don't necessarily want to be this person, to be, to do their style or whatever, but there's something about what they're doing that I want to understand better." And, we've got all these amazing resources now to really do that. So that would be me. And, plus it's like a good habit. It's like, I don't want to be a bodybuilder, but I want to be healthy. And I need to get back on focusing on that. So like, today I'm going to do some exercises and track what I'm eating. And that none of that's fun, and it doesn't really serve a longer career goal other than being healthier and happier as a human being. But I'm not going to open a gym or start a weight loss program or anything like that. It's the same. It's kind of like video games, right? So people play a lot of video games. I play some as well. But I'm not going to be a pro gamer. I have I'm too old for that, first of all, and I've never had any interest in having that being an end goal. It's just something that I like doing. I don't really have much time for it, but because I got too many things that I want to do. But so not everything needs to be have this kind of closed end where you're doing something because you're gonna make a living off of it. Yeah, and I think one of the things with copywork, I think it's really helpful because it can be a source of inspiration. I don't understand the stigma with copywork. Like, I'm not going to stick this in my portfolio. I'm not going to walk up to Steven Spielberg or George Lucas or whatever and say, "Hey, hire me. I've got this amazing portfolio of copywork. This is just for me to kind of look at something more carefully and understand it better. And that's perfectly, relevant thing to do. And copy work has been like the foundation for a lot of the arts. It's like if you're studying music, you're playing scales, which would be similar to say like life drawing or studying anatomy, but you're also playing, other people's music and all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's, how you learn. And that's something that some musicians only do, is they only play other people's music, right? Yeah, but again, that's that can come down the line. You may one of the things you'll find is that you'll discover things that you like or want to do from doing the copy work, right? So by paying attention to somebody say, "Oh, I never considered this before," or I'll notice something about the way they're doing things, and you bring that to your work, and it gets filtered through all the other things you're looking at. And I wouldn't say just copy one person. Like if you want to paint really well, I wouldn't say just copy Rembrandt or just copy uh, what's his face, Franklin Church or Franklin Booth or whoever. You want to look at all the different things you enjoy and do copies of that. Do studies from life and the whole potential gamut of things, and kind of the intersection of all those things, along with whatever you do naturally that you can't help yourself with. That develops your unique voice and allows you to bring that to people. And it's what makes your work interesting. It's not being like somebody else doesn't usually make your work that interesting. Yeah, that's one thing. Is definitely, that's for sure. If you take issue with copying, that's a big deal. So it just shows that you don't understand how people learn. First of all, it's like one of the things I was doing earlier this year, or I guess last year. Now, right? Kind of moved on from 2024. Some of us have anyway. Sometimes I write the numbers wrong, but as I was printing out for inking practice. I was printing out some artists I really like, that are comic book artists, so like James Herron or Sean Gordon Murphy or some Jim Lee, Scott Williams stuff, and then drawing over their drawings, trying to match their mark making, and I've got a stack of those around here somewhere. I don't think I live streamed any of those, but I've got a stack of them. It's not the kind of thing I would post online. It's just for my own practice purposes. I think it was back before I started doing these morning studies online again when I was doing those. And some of them are better than others, and I actually figured out partway through that there was something I didn't understand about comic book formatting, and that I was actually printing them too large by a bit. And which is kind of funny, but it doesn't ruin anything. It was helpful for me to kind of pay attention to what they were doing, and I was looking at a bunch of inking videos from different people, including them if I could find something by them. Yeah, and you can spend too much time studying, right? You can spend all of your time learning about things but never really doing them yourself. You have to be careful with that, because it's really enjoyable to learn new things this way, I think anyway. But it's a good way to start the day. Like I try to keep this to about an hour. I was doing a couple hours before, and I'm like, well, I've got other things I really have to get done. So, but even then, 2 hours isn't too bad for a focused study session like that, depending on what you're practicing. But copying from a book like this, spending an hour is pretty good, I think, for getting the benefit from it, for me anyway. And it slows things down a little bit, helps me pay attention more, so when I come back the next time, I'm like, oh yeah, what about this and what about that? So yeah, but copying is, I think it's something we do naturally too. Because I remember, as a kid copying, pages out of X-Men and Spawn and Wildcats and all those when I was, I'm a lot younger, and I think all those things were really good for me. Yeah, Thundercats. It's a classic. So it's more of a TV show, so I didn't really copy that because I didn't. When it was on TV anyway, originally, I couldn't pause the videos and watch them or anything. It was more difficult than that, but. Yeah, I wish I had kind of done a lot of copy work more when I was in my undergrad program, because it only really became something I did commonly after that. Something I did a little bit as an undergrad, but I wish I'd done it a lot more. Um, yeah, so, yeah, but I wanted to kind of do this. And it's a good way to kind of get me going in the morning and doing something, but also, paying attention to something I like. And like I'm copying the whole book here. You don't necessarily have to do that. Like, maybe I've gotten enough out of this, but I'm kind of close enough to the end where I don't want to. I'd feel bad if I stopped. Like, I think I've probably gotten everything I'm going to get from it, but we're like 4 pages away from the end of this book, so I kind of felt that way a couple weeks ago, but it's good to take a break. You don't have to there's not like one method for doing this stuff. Like I said, I'm kind of doubling up on this because she doesn't ink her drawings; she just does pencil drawings. And then usually if she colors them or does any kind of finished work, she'll take them into Photoshop or photocopy them and then do marker on top of them. So if you go look at her work, that's what she does. But I'm not copying that part because I don't know that would add anything to what I'm doing. So I'm just focusing on the kind of drawing, the anatomy, the structure, and then using some of the inking things I've wanted to practice as part of that. So using this Hunt 102 or other nibs to practice with. So it's kind of a multiplication of effort. So if I was just doing the sketches and the drawings, I'd get through these a lot faster. Plus I got this really nice paper. This sketchbook is like really nice. Expensive, but so yeah. What's funny is you'll get the AI bros will be like, oh, well, copy work. or emulating somebody. That's the same thing that the AI is doing. I'm just like crying out loud. Are you even? What are you even doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's not at all what's going on. So, um, yeah. Well, it's the whole thing is that it's about you taking something into yourself, and that doesn't happen with AI period at all. It's just like it's not what's going on with it. Um, it's a dishonest way of discussing what's going on, but yeah, um, it's like I was I had a conversation a long time ago with a art professor colleague of mine, and he was saying, he says, why do we bother learning to draw? Because I'm teaching all these drawing classes, right? So why bother having your job? Um, and because we've got, and he was kind of frustrated with photography. He's a photography professor, but he's like, this is like 3D rendering that killed product photography, for him, because I guess that was something he did, and but he was like, why bother learning to draw on an apple or whatever? It's just like we just get to render out of a computer, and that's just like a complete misunderstanding of what being an artist, especially someone who wants a high degree of craft, is about. It's not the apple that's the important part. It's the apple and your experience of drawing it. The way you pay attention to the surfaces and the rendering and the layout and the all the things that are distinctive to you that help you kind of develop a deeper perception, understanding of what's in front of you. It changes your point of view. That's one of the problems you run into with the prompting stuff, is it actually favors the verbal, and so you're not really creating a visual experience, you're just generating a response out of a verbal experience. And I was having that conversation with this guy who does the super intensive classical drawing stuff. Teaches it as part of his figure drawing class, and I don't know that's the best place for that kind of drawing, and especially an illustration major. But I still think it's fine and it's relevant and in its context. But we were talking about this, and he's like, yeah, the point of the drawing isn't like to have a drawing of a person. It's to develop your own sensitivity to form and shape and surface and all these other things that are actually relevant to what a drawing is, not just the rendering that you get out of it. And that's what makes something art. That's kind of what that's kind of a big problem. And if you're into comics, I saw a post from Chuck Dixon, who's a very famous comic book writer. He's doing an AI comic on Kickstarter. It's not doing very well last time I checked, but the comments in his Twitter were just like, "What is this? Like, why are you doing this?" He's like, "These are people that are big fans of his work." And yeah, it's like even if a machine can emulate it to the point where, say, I don't know if I did it or a machine did it, that's like that misses the whole point of me doing it, right? So even if it can, like even if it, say, someone was to process this stuff into, whatever system, if I don't get to do it, it doesn't benefit me at all, you know. And there seems to be, I've met some artists, especially they tend to lean into kind of the production side of art, so they rely on other people for their creativity. It's like they may be really good draftsmen or designers or whatever, but they tend to kind of lean into having someone else give them the job. So they're kind of more production artists rather than kind of self starters. And I found they tend to be more supportive of the AI stuff because they don't have to think and they can pretend to be creative because they don't have to involve, outside people with their work. So they can kind of deal with that resentment that they have, and while also kind of being able to masquerade as someone who is being creative when they are in fact not being creative at all. Um, And I guess there's a big hearing today in New York for copyright hearing for against OpenAI and Microsoft to whether the motion to go forward with the case will be dismissed or not. And I don't know what's going to happen because we see what's going on at, say, in the UK with this stuff where they're planning on handing over all of their medical data to these systems. And so, yeah, but it's been weird because I've been having these discussions at the university that I teach at, and there's people in the art department, they want to incorporate AI into everything. And I think they are dead wrong to do so, that it doesn't add anything to the student's experience or ability. Because even if it is, say, required or it does become, an inherent part of everything, it's not hard to use. Um, yeah, so I get confused about it. Especially the students are so against it. Like they don't. It's not what they're here for. So like even if it is required, it's like why put it in part of their education where it's not necessary. Like the stuff takes like an afternoon to figure out how to use. Yeah, hey, just go look it up. Um, let's see. Yeah. I mean, I know he's a conservative Republican guy, but I don't particularly care about that. I don't tend to like either of these nonsensical parties in the United States anyway, so. Yeah, I just did see that's where I saw it was on Twitter. Um, but it could be. I mean, he's he's most comic book people are, right? At least the ones on the public face of things. They tend to be a little, a little crazy. But the AI thing is like, what are you doing, man? Like that's, I think one of the big harms with it, especially for artists, is it can do significant reputational harm to them. Whether they're artists or writers or whatever, it's like, if you don't care enough about making your own work, why should I care about it? But yeah, Twitter's kind of a crazy place too. So I saw somebody posted their AI statement for their syllabus online, on Twitter. So I just posted mine kind of in conjunction with it. These guys came and were like, well, that they're just copying their AI policy for their class from somebody else. Isn't that plagiarism, like AI? And I'm like, no, it's a classroom policy. It's nobody really cares about authorship of university policies, and a lot of times what's going on is universities are trying to find a common policy, even among each other, that's generally applicable. And so, a lot of times, like even within a department, they'll have the same syllabus for parts of the syllabus will be identical because it's a department policy, and they're required to put one in there. And it's just like this weird kind of specious argument this guy was trying to have, saying, oh no, you're doing that. And his final argument to me was, I'm going to train my AI on your stuff, and in a couple hours we'll be ready, and we'll just be flooding everything with your stuff because we're just going to take it. I'm like, well, there you are. That's who you are. Little does he know that most of my stuff's been processed into Nightshade. And yeah, I did delete the names off of the story. But all my stuff's been processed through Nightshade that I've been putting up lately. I need to kind of go through some of the older stuff and do that too. But so even if he were to process it in, I don't know how well it would work out for him. So good luck. But I mean, it's like it just kind of proves that attitude of entitlement that these people have. That they believe that they're somehow owed other people's work. And it's such a weird attitude. What's weird about it too is it seems to be kind of a, at least in the United States, like a bipartisan thing. So you'll see it doesn't seem to be like a partisan issue. You don't see it's not like a right, left, Republican, Democrat, conservative, leftist divide. It seems to be pretty unifying on either side of that argument. So you'll see a lot of people who are pro, and they're very, very conservative people, which I thought was really interesting. So they tend to be a lot more interested in property rights and that. Whereas, and I also seeing people on the left who are like, well, it's ours. It should be, this is gift to the world. It should be shared with everybody. This seems to be the attitude. And then, let's see, page 155. And then on the anti side, you see the same kind of thing where it's like, well, it's property rights, and obviously you can't take it. It's not yours. You didn't make it. And and then there's from the left seems to be a lot of concerns over that, but also authorship and and personal protections. So it's been interesting to kind of see kind of how that divide has been set up. And my policy had mostly been just to ignore it, because I was just like, yeah, it's gross, I don't like it. But it kind of came to a head at my university because a few of the faculty, they really want to bring it into the program. And in fact, one of them, he rewrote a syllabus to include the study of it as part of one of the kind of the Adobe class that they're supposed to cover it in there. And so, yeah, and I know a number of the faculty who teach that class, like, they're not going to be happy with that. Maybe all they have to do is just like say it exists, point out where it is, and say I'm against the use of it. Maybe that'll be the extent of it. I know I'm not going to include it in any of my classes. I mean, I'm definitely open to being convinced that maybe there's something I'm missing about all this. Maybe there's some argument. Maybe there's some bit of data that hasn't been presented to me, but I keep being told the same things over and over and over again by people, and I'm like, these aren't very good arguments. All your argument is I want, I take. That's been the entirety of it. I also get confused over what the benefits they seem to expect to get out of it are. Like, all it seems to be really used for is like memes and weird videos, and some people that claim it has some benefits for medical diagnosis, but I don't know that that's exactly accurate. So that's where I was painting over here, drawing, sorry. It just seems like, because of the way it works, it just really hallucinates what's going on. It doesn't actually know what it's talking about. So you might get good results or, analysis out of it, but you might not, and you might not be able to tell the difference between the good and the bad. And the belief that you'll be able to keep doing that, I think, is just crazy. That you'll be able to be smart enough and good enough and capable enough to be able to overcome the effect of it doing everything for you. That seems to be one of the arguments. Is like, you just have to have a greater sensitivity, a greater understanding, a greater will. And I'm like, I don't think you understand humans or yourself if that's what you think is going to happen. Anything that I don't have to be thoughtful about, I'm not going to be. I understand that's part of human nature, and as much as I would like to believe that we can all be independent, self-actuating individuals, I just don't think that's reflective of our general nature as an overall population. So, anyway, that's it for today. It's been an hour, and thanks everybody coming in. Should be back tomorrow. Hopefully a little bit early. I slept in a little bit this morning, or vegged out a little bit this morning. I was up, but not entirely functional for a bit. But yeah, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to y'all next time.